Yo, what's up, what's up, what's up? This is game 2 of the finals of the LauttSSK Suomalainen Shakki Kerho. Game 2, Jyrki versus Ashwin. Already won the first game. Jyrki needs to make a comeback to stay in the competition. What does he do? Pawn up first. Pretty nice move, pretty nice move. You know what? Let's flip the board. Let's keep it in my perspective, because my perspective is what we all care about, right? All right, so knight f6. And here he plays this line, right? I think it's called the Blackmar DMer Gambit, or maybe not yet, but I knew this was coming because Jyrki plays this kind of opening, and I was expecting it. I studied it heavily prior to the game. Basically, White gives up two pawns for one pawn to gain a lead in development at the expense of material. And normally the ideas are something like this, castles, rook comes down here, queen goes there, queen comes here, all sorts of crazy stuff going on here. That's the common way to play it, and that's what I'd studied a lot. And I came to the conclusion that g6 is the best line against this. I mean, it is possible to go bishop g5 g4 right away, but this is what I think is the best line. But here came a bit of a surprising move. He played bishop to f4. This is not what I studied. In the games I studied, it was bishop c4, castles, queen comes here, all that type of stuff. But he's gone a different approach. So right here is when I remember, oh right, Jyrki doesn't do that. That was Pekka that does this. Jyrki actually likes to do this type of stuff, castling and queenside and doing that. So it's a totally different opening. So right away, I have to kind of revise my plans, but I don't quite know what to do next. So I just do the regular stuff. And castle as well. So right here, he could play this move, and I don't know if it's the right idea or not for White, but it is on the cards. He decides to slow build some pressure, and here I figure, I got to get that bishop there. This knight, Jyrki is such a good tactician. I've won the first game. I just need to not lose this one to win the competition. So I know that the knight is dangerous, and I want to make sure he doesn't do anything crazy in this game. So yeah, Jyrki's attack is fully fleshed out. But if you see the computer evaluation, it is quite significantly in Black's favor here. So the pawn sacrifice doesn't seem to really be working out for White at this point. Black has very comfortable position if you actually think about it. There's no real attack going on. And I even have time to play a very patient move like this, to just make sure there's no pawn up here type of stuff going on. So now he decides to do that move, and I figure I basically let him do it. I mean, I could have moved my rook here if I was so eager to maintain that bishop, and then he would come there. I would have a chance to go back here because the rook would no longer be under pin. So I could have played this earlier, but I didn't see that as a wise idea, considering that bishop is looking at this, and rook could easily start looking at it, and maybe even a sacrifice knight kind of idea, all sorts of stuff. So it's better to just keep the rook there, even if it means swapping off the fianchettoed bishop, which is typically not what you want to do, but and see, it didn't look too dangerous. So anyway, I'm deciding to do a bit of counter punch here. Want to just get get some space advantage and build some momentum there. And yeah, I kind of like this sequence of moves. It's sort of setting the tone a little bit. And here I decide to capture that knight because, at this point the knight could move out of the way since the knight is blocking the pin. So I swap that off. And now what do we have? We have two knights versus a bishop and knight. That's the flavor of the middle game here. And I think it's fairly okay one. This bishop I don't think is much of a... I think he's fairly neutralized if you think about it. And this knight, that knight could end up being quite tricky. You never know. So knight right there, I guess it's a blunder according to the computer, but I don't know what's the big deal here. Anyway, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, he decides to play f4, which I guess I didn't spot. Yeah, this is a blunder. I didn't consider that he could decide to do a pawn break with the f pawn. I was in my head all the time just thinking about this one. I never really gave this one much thought, to be honest. And it seems that right now with this move, I'm allowing that to be a lot stronger than it otherwise would be. All right. So I've chosen this kind of setup, just a sort of a hedgehog structure, just hold it all together. And he's really going for it. I think I'm also kind of handling it reasonably well with my defensive style here. But there is some pressure brewing. It's mild, but there is some. And computer thinks rook to h8 is the right move here. Guess what I do? Queen f6. Huh. Well, that didn't come out right in my... I thought I played rook h8, actually. Maybe I did. I don't know. But I think I did it fairly early as soon as I saw this type of situation. Anyway, queen f6. And... yeah. Yeah, this was a good move. Yeah, sorry, it was a bad move. I'm a bit confused today. Anyway, so he's gone there, and that was a bit of an error. I think he could have gone c3, just a humble c3 instead of the whole c4 line, because it's not to his advantage to do that. This is... well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyway, as I told you. So I do eventually play the rook h idea. And the general point is when the rooks start doubling up, you don't want to allow him to capture this. Because then he could break through because the rook is pinning the king. So it does actually go out in that sequence, and my rook is in perfect position to take care of that pawn. So in case he captures, the rook can capture back and nothing else happens. If the rook wasn't here, he could capture it and I wouldn't be able to take back. So it's all secure, but I still play a little bit excessively cautiously here. Sort of like a Pujara, a very Pujara-like defense. I've won the first game. I just want to survive, I'm like a Jew. That's not racist, is it? I don't know. Anyway, he kicked my knight, and I decide, I was thinking I gotta move it back and do this. This looks so solid. But for some reason, I just couldn't resist the urge to play what ought to be the right move. Except it's a total blunder. Total blunder because... pause the video if you want to spot the tactic. Boom. Rook takes a5. Wow, what a move. I did not see this at all. Why is it so good? Why didn't you just take it back? Well, because if you take it back, queen takes with check. My stupid ass Pujara move allows him to execute a tactic on me out of nowhere. Like, I couldn't have even imagined that. But here I was, and I had to shake my head, and it was so tempting to just follow through with it, but I had to just calm down and reassess the situation. I mean, it's still an even position here, more or less, so I don't need to panic or anything. So move the rook there. Now he wants to continue the attack, and he makes a blunder, it seems. Computer liked queen c3 here. I haven't really studied that whole thing, but why is this a blunder? It's because of the killer move that comes next. Pause the video if you want to see it. The best move of the year. You ready? This is it. Boom, knight to c4. Now how do you make a move like this? You have to be able to spot in this position that if the queen were to come all the way there, that would be a checkmate. Because the knight's covered these two squares. The king is totally gone. It's a mate right there, so he cannot capture back. So now the only way to see this kind of move is if you've trained your tactical eye so well to be able to spot these kind of opportunities. That's why it's very important to do tactics, programming, training, Train yourself day after day after day. If you want to be a monster in tactics. It's not the only thing that matters. You can be a very good player and be a horrible tactician, but if you're good at tactics, you always have the ability to strike like a serpent in the dark. All right? So here we are. And I'm now just playing it very solid chess here. Check, take the pawn, and he can't even capture back. Because just imagine, if he captures back, queen, check, rooks, pinned. You know, it's just killer. It's a killer position, and rook to come in here, all sorts of stuff going on. So here we are. We are in the game, and I'm totally in a very comfortable position here. Very comfortable position. It's a heavy piece endgame, and in a heavy piece endgame, it's the side that is safe that always wins. The side which is unsafe, the vulnerable king here, always loses in a heavy piece endgame. So that's the key thing to remember. So even though the pawn balance is fairly even, I mean, he even has a passed pawn, you could argue, it's still black's game by a mile. That is, unless you get stupid. And stupid does as stupid is. I think, you know, I'm fairly secure here. That looks like a fairly juicy pawn. I mean, I know I could check him next, but I don't quite know the follow-up after rook king f1. So, I mean, I'm going to just take the pawn. I'm not scared if he takes this pawn, right? Because I'll be able to handle it, you know. So that's how I was thinking. And I took it. Except the eval bar went all the way down because of the move which came next, which I did not account for. Pause the video and see what a killer move that was. Rook takes f7. Check. Wow. What a move. I was shaking my head as he started to invade. And it's game over, actually. It's game over, but it's not easy to spot this. It's a very specific sequence of moves. You know, but the key thing is, you're never as safe as you can think, bro. These guys are pros, man. You give them a sniff, and they'll be hunting you like a dog in the dark. I love those kind of phrases, don't I? Anyway, so here he is, and he's coming right after me, and, you know, it's nearly game over for black. I mean, it looks like black has it under control, but if he moves pawn here, the queen is eventually done for, and white will end up winning one of the rooks too. So, but it's not easy to spot that. I mean, there were other ideas as well, like after the king went up there, actually rook check here is a better idea. King goes up here and then a queen check there, and maybe the rook king comes here, and then you have a rook check. And if the king goes here, queen comes here, mate. If the king goes there, queen goes there, mate. Pretty symmetrical. Anyway, that's not what happened. I defended with my queen, but here he made an error. He shouldn't have taken right away. Not right away, because now I can manage to connect my rooks. Connect them. I mean, it's not the right move. It's not a blunder, because I forgot he could still do this and put a lot of pressure on that. But the idea was I wanted to connect my rooks. And, you know, 2 rooks versus the queen, I'm not going to lose this game. Even if he gets all these pawns, it's not going to matter. I won't lose the game. So I guess the game ended in a draw or whatever, but it wasn't a draw really. It was just like, all right. So that was it. That's the finals, and hope you enjoyed it, man. I'm a champion now.